Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Joey Galvez, one half of your host of Explain Yourself, and I want to let you guys know about a really cool book from our friend of the show, Eli Shockey. This one is called The Greylock, and it's a story where magic is a commodity. Potions are sold at corner stores. Orcs and dwarves earn a living in cubicles, not on the battlefields. But there are those who resist the house's magic's laws. Branded a criminal and forced to live as a wand for hire, there is a spell slinger they call the Greylock. Check this one out. You guys can pre-order issue 3 right now with code JAN241939, and make sure you guys are heading over to your favorite LCS and letting them know that you want Greylock number 3, and maybe pick up the first 2 issues. You could do that at the Scout web store. So make sure you guys are grabbing the Greylock number 3, JAN241939 at previewsworld.com.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is...
Sesame, Lampshade, and Carrot.
Lampshade?
Yep.
Why the choice of Lampshade?
Because I looked at a lamp and I was trying to find something to say, so I said Lampshade.
You know what? That's a good name. It's not the craziest one you've come up with.
No, it's a tame one.
Yes, it's pretty tame. So, anyways, today on the show, we have one of our all two interviews. I did an interview with my friend and who's a filmmaker. Her name is Vanessa Leonard. She wrote and directed this movie called A Story Worth Living, which you can now rent or buy on Amazon Prime. It's supposed to be coming to Tubi soon, I believe, too. We'll have a lot of info in the show notes of how you can find it. Basically, it was a really good movie that she wrote, directed, starred in, and it's got a lot of people from the Northwest Ohio area where I'm from. A lot of people that I know from the film world up there. I've worked with. I was in one movie with Vanessa, worked on another one or two that she was involved with. So yeah, I've known her for, I don't know, going on a decade now. Really nice person, very talented. She's working on her next script. We talk about that a little bit too. We didn't say what it was about, but she's it was a really good, important movie that deals with mental health and some of the pitfalls that we have in the world when it comes to care for people with mental health, and how, you know, sometimes we got to pay attention to people and make sure that our friends are okay and stuff like that too. It sounds like it's all a bummer, but it's actually kind of a interesting movie that's at some points almost like a thriller when you kind of are just wondering what's going on in the life of this character of Allison that she created for the movie.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought it was an important movie for people to watch, especially if you have any kind of mental health issues or know anybody that does in your life.
Yeah, we should review it sometime.
Oh, definitely, we could do that. Yeah, I think definitely we could review it for the podcast. I really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend anybody go to Amazon right now where you can rent or buy it. There's lots of other info that you can find about it that I will have in the show notes, so you can find all the information about where you can see the movie. She toured this movie around the country too, which was awesome, and around the world and different festivals. It had its premiere at the Chinese Theater in Los Angeles. So yeah, so it's a really famous place. So
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, she had a lot going for her. It kind of inspired me to start writing more. I mean, I was already writing a screenplay that I'm working on right now while I watched it, but it actually gave me a little bit of inspiration. So, anyways, here's my interview here with Vanessa Leonard. All right. First, I'd like to welcome Vanessa Leonard to the podcast here. How are you doing today, Vanessa?
I'm well. The sun is shining, and I'm grateful to be here. Thanks for having me, Michael.
Oh, no problem. First, I just wanted to congratulate you on Story Worth Living. It was a great film. I really enjoyed it. Seems like a lot of work went into it, and great cast and crew and everything.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's kind of like bizarre to think back because we filmed it years ago, pre-COVID. So it's definitely been a COVID baby and all throughout that process. But yeah, I actually have an actual baby now, an infant in the house, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't even imagine trying to shoot, a feature-length movie at the same time. So yeah.
Amazing when people can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but that A Story Worth Living, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it, but a lot of work definitely went into it.
Yeah. Start off, when did you get interested in filmmaking and the arts in general?
So actually, I was 12 or 13 years old. I was on a family vacation in LA. And I don't know, I just loved everything about, I don't know, just the environment and the storytelling and I don't know, just something grasped me. And I kind of proclaimed then to my family, I'm like, one day I'm going to be a woman filmmaker. Like, I'm going to make it happen. And I don't know. I think maybe it was the Christmas before that vacation, actually. But my parents got me some kid camera, from Toys R Us. So not a DSLR or anything. But and really from that moment on, I just started capturing everything, anything and everything, whether if it was family vacations or concerts or events at school. And then also I grabbed my younger brother and kids in the neighborhood, and we wrote stories, short films and short stories, and we filmed them, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of acting, and then obviously as I got older, unfortunately, just as teenagers do, but I got busy with other things in high school. But it's really cool to be able to see that filmmaking is back in my life full circle. What happened was, in my early 20s, after getting married, and after life slowing down, if you can imagine, because I went from working like 2 full-time jobs and a part-time job and planning a wedding and all this stuff to going down to one job. And then obviously after marriage, and my husband is a touring musician, so he went on tours. So I'm just sitting at home kind of twiddling my thumbs. I'm like, okay, I need to find something to do. So one day, I don't know, something popped up on Facebook and come out for a zombie movie. And I'm like, oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
So essentially I looked it up, and it was legit. Like, there was a studio and everything else, and actually I auditioned, and I actually got a speaking role, not just a zombie role. So that was kind of cool. But really, as you can imagine, you being a filmmaker yourself, I mean, you get on these film sets. I mean, it's all about networking and talking to people. And really from there, it just kind of snowballed and connecting with different filmmakers in the community.
Yeah, I mean, that is what it is. I mean, I moved a little bit away from the area that we both are from, and I kind of miss everybody, which is really kind of sad because I really want to get back into filmmaking, but I'm not that far away, so I'm good. But
good.
So I can always come back. What was the catalyst that inspired this film specifically here that got you interested in writing it and telling this story?
Yeah. So essentially, back in junior high school, mostly junior high, elementary, actually, now that I think of it, I was really big into short storytelling, to be honest, even before the film aspect. So looking back, I can totally see how it kind of developed into filmmaking later on. But I actually was really into short stories. And eventually that's kind of what happened. I was in a really cool film in 2016, and I loved it. It was so much fun. But unfortunately, after it premiered, nothing really came about from it. And I remember kind of when I got into filmmaking in 2012 in my adulthood, in my adult life, I should say. I kind of proclaimed inwardly to myself that I would like to get into a film festival I could travel to. And I never said it out loud, but I mean, it's obviously, you always think of the big ones, Sundance and Tribeca and whatnot. So, and again, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but as I learned, though the bigger ones really only care about the A-listers who are working on independent projects.
Yeah.
So unless if you have like millions of dollars of investing money behind it, but overall, I mean, I learned pretty quickly that those are pretty unattainable on a pretty low budget film. So, but that's okay. So, but either way, that was kind of my goal, was to get to a film festival I could travel to. And in 2017, I kind of gave myself a pep talk, being the New Year's resolution, January 2017. And I'm like, Vanessa, you used to write your own films. You used to, or not films, but you used to write your own short stories. Like, let's get back into that. So, it's kind of weird. I kind of not pride myself, but I kind of describe myself as a details person. I'm not an ideas person. I wish I was, but I'm not. And I mean, we all have our weaknesses and strengths, and I definitely recognize that with myself. So essentially, I sat on this idea, like, okay, I want to write a feature film. I want it to be a narrative drama, and I want it to be on mental health, but like, where do I go from there?
Yeah.
And essentially, I remember it was either January or February of 2017. I sat down with local filmmaker Larry Williams, and he definitely gave me a pep talk, and he's like, nothing is new under the sun. Everything is kind of copied in one way or another. And maybe copied isn't the right word for it, but duplicated. There's not a lot of unique stories out there.
Yeah, they say there's only about like 8 stories and that are just kind of told in different ways over and over again. So yeah.
Yep, exactly. So he said, essentially, you just need to come at a story with a different angle. Just change the perspective just ever so slightly. So I'm like, okay. So again, I told him, I'm like, this is what I want. I want a drama about mental health. So essentially, I was just kind of spewing that, just for weeks. And eventually one night, occasionally, not so much anymore because I'll take all the sleep I can get. But free baby.
Yeah.
I would have cases of insomnia, and I would have a notepad or probably my phone, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Next to my bed. And one night I just kind of woke up, or again, insomnia, but I was awake and I saw the movie from start to finish. I saw what the first scene was going to be and what the last scene was going to be.
Wow.
And really from there, I just had to fill in the gaps. And hello, I'm a details person, so that came very easy for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially I saw the film and I'm just like, okay, I know exactly where the story is coming from and what angle and what I'm going to write about. So the very next day, which this is probably bad writing, and it's actually kind of funny because I'm slowly starting. I started it, I want to say a year or two ago, but I'm slowly starting or writing my next feature, and I have an outline for it.
Yeah,
it's just really sitting down to write it. But I will say this: I did not have an outline for A Story Worth Living. I just cranked it out. Like the very next day, I had 40 pages written, and then by the end of the week, I had a full script. And again, I guess the expression is pen to paper. It was just fingers to keyboard, I mean, I was just hunkering it out. I don't even know if hunkering is a word. Bear with me. Sleep deprived.
It's good.
But
sounds like a word. It's okay.
Right. Maybe cranking it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just saw it and I just ran with it. So, and then of course I kind of sat on it. I took my time. Summer of 2017, I did some odd jobs, marketing jobs, to save up for just the budget. And I also took my time with the script to see if I can add to it, take away. And I had a couple of close friends read it, and they also gave their 2 cents on it as well. So overall, though, we didn't delete any scenes, which is pretty pretty cool because I mean, everything that was specifically for the film was very intentional.
Yeah.
So, and I like that about
Did you add any scenes?
the script. I did, yeah. So, for those who've seen it, the bar scene was definitely added. And then I want to say, yeah, and then the ending changed too.
Oh, okay.
So like with the phone calls and different things.
Yeah.
That was different as well. That was not in the original script. So yeah, we definitely changed a couple things, but overall, like no scenes per se were deleted.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it was fun. It was fun writing for sure.
Yeah, as someone myself who I suffer with anxiety and depression, I just want to say thank you for making this film because it's a subject that, I mean, we talk about more openly now than we did in the past, but it's still not something that is completely mainstream and sometimes is actually frowned upon. And it's good to have, even if you just have a side character who has some anxiety or mental illness or something that they're going through, it helps to be seen. I mean, anybody and any kind of representation in film is good.
Yeah. It normalizes the topic. I mean, pre-COVID, I mean, 1 in 5 adults have some sort of mental or emotional trauma. I can only imagine what those numbers are now.
Oh, yeah.
So this film is definitely very timely. But the reason why I wanted to touch base on mental health is because, one, to normalize the topic. My husband has an extreme anxiety disorder. I have friends with bipolar, borderline personality, depression. So, I mean, again, 1 in 5, these people are friends or neighbors, family, coworkers. And oftentimes when mental health, mental illness is portrayed in big budget movies, I mean, you have the psychopathic killer and the schizophrenic, stalker, and it's just very dramatized. And I'm like, these people are very normal and they're going about their lives and living their lives and going to work and getting the newspaper. So I really just wanted to normalize the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it does, help when there's movies like yours or other ones that I've seen recently, because, I mean, it seems like Hollywood's catching up a little bit now, too. But it seems like
I think so, too.
Indie films are where it was for a while there when it comes to expressing, mental health or any kind of, like, outsider type thing, or, not your, single line of storytelling that we've had for 100+ years. But yeah,
I agree.
How did you I mean, you said you wrote it all in like one day. Did you have the characters in mind and everything, like right before you started writing? Did you, because you said you didn't do any kind of outlines, so
I didn't do any outlines. So originally, yes, I think all the characters were true to the original script. I think the character Brittany was added just again to show a little bit more conflict. So I want to say Brittany wasn't in the original script, but again, I liked the idea of having a small cast, but then obviously I also not too, because like, you definitely want to work with a lot more people. So, but it was challenging. I think we had like 9 speaking roles, if that, in A Story Worth Living. So so like I said, it had its, I liked working with a small cast, but I'm hopefully looking forward to working with a slightly bigger cast though too, to be able to just have more diversity and whatnot.
Yeah. How, speaking of your cast and everything, how did you find the cast and crew for your film?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, just working in the Toledo area, when writing the script, obviously a couple people came to mind. I'm like, okay, I can definitely see this person is this character and this person. But overall, when it came to the lead, when it came to Jacob Russell, when it came to and Brittany, when it came to Brittany's role, the book owner, bookstore owner, the bartender, I think that might be it, but those were definitely auditions for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, the mom, the dad, the best friend, those I definitely had the actors in mind.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to work with people, and I know you've worked with a lot of these people previously in other films that you've been in, so that was probably good, because I know it's, the number one thing I always like on a set that I've been on, whether I'm acting or doing camera work or whatever, is getting along with the people, because whenever there's conflict, I go home and cry sometimes, because it's just so bad, you can't.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a fun
Yeah.
experience, a good experience. And yeah, absolutely. You want to get along with the people.
Yeah, definitely. Can you talk about, how you worked with the cast and crew? Was it daunting, like in your first, time directing a feature film?
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I worked with an amazing cast and crew who were all very committed to the project.
That's good.
Very committed, and I'm so grateful. But yeah, so Zach Kohlhoff was lead cinematographer. I had Kayla Elizabeth who assisted directed. And yeah, all the actors. I mean, even the lead, Joe Morales, who played Jacob Russell, he was driving 3 hours one way, so 6 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
To be in this film. And like he was just that committed. And obviously I really took into consideration his schedule, his drive time. So for instance, like we would be shooting, say me and Melissa or someone, we would be shooting at like 9-10 a.m. and I wouldn't schedule Joe to be on set till like 1 o'clock or noon. So that way he doesn't have to be up at, 4 a.m. to travel here.
Yeah.
But yeah, thankfully I had an amazing cast and crew who were just very committed and really saw this project and really believed in it.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's hard when you have people from out of town trying to do. I mean, I had to shoot in a movie I did like all scenes with one actor in one day, and then I had a weekend for another actor who was kind of one of the major characters in the movie. So it was really fun trying to shoot around their schedules and then just shoot everything else, other days. So it was good.
Yeah.
And using doubles.
And one thing that oh, sorry.
And we used doubles too, but that was just
oh, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, movie magic, right?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, one thing too that made this a unique experience because Joe, the lead actor, was so far away from Northwest Ohio. He lives on the east side of the state. I definitely want to utilize his time to the best of my ability.
Oh yeah.
So I actually edited the film as we were shooting. So that way, if we had any reshoots, I would schedule them as we went along because again, I just wanted to make sure, that we wouldn't be, 8 months later and like, oh my gosh, we need to reshoot this entire thing. So, so that way we were just already in progress and already going.
Yeah, because it's hard when you reshoot later because, people don't think about the fact that somebody could shave, somebody could change their hair color, do whatever, and it's just...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then not to mention you just lose momentum and I've seen so many projects just kind of fall through the cracks and they just don't pick back up. So,
yeah. I've been involved and started a bunch of those. So I understand. So, unfortunately. Yeah. How does the... do you think you have like a stamp yet of like your artistic style or anything that you want to go forward with? Or do you plan to do more dramas or more comedies or anything in the future? Or what are you doing?
So I know it's so funny because I don't even like chick flicks. I'm just I find them very predictable.
Yeah.
I mean, I find like my personal niche, like what I personally like to watch are thrillers, probably suspense thrillers, probably some comedies too, depending on my mood.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to like romance dramas, I'm like half the time, if someone recommends one to me, I end up like forwarding it to the end because I'm like, this is so predictable. We all know how it's going to end. But yeah, so I will say this, if I can't give too much away, I am writing my next script. And like I said, I started it 2 years ago, but I didn't really like the direction it's going. So I've just kind of been thinking. And then I remembered, I have a very good friend of mine, and it is loosely based on a family member in her life.
Okay.
So, so essentially, my next film is going to be a drama again, loosely based on real life experience, a situation, and it's gonna be a Christmas movie. So I'm pretty excited about that, changing the genre a little bit with that.
That's good. Yeah, because I actually like the fact that you did a drama because a lot of indie films, like especially in the Toledo area, tended to be more like horror based for a while. And I mean, I was involved with a couple, but it's just, it's good to see a different genre. I mean, because actually my particular favorite genre is drama, so it was good to see that.
Oh,
So yeah,
that's
so I was really
awesome.
happy to see that because
Yeah, well,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, I will say this, like, I'm so grateful for my guy friends, like,
yeah,
because I'm just like, oh, sorry, guy, like, thank you for supporting me and coming, but like at the same time, I'm sorry that you have to sit through a chick flick,
yeah,
and like they're like, oh my gosh, no, by
yeah.
what is it called? Like, I'm trying to think. By the second half of the film, part two of the story,
Yeah.
there's a cool film. Act two. I think that's
Yeah.
what it is. I'm like, I want to using that filmology.
Yes.
But yeah, so by act two, they're like, no, we were on the edge of our seats. Like it
Yeah.
turned very much into like a thriller kind of. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't see it that way, but cool.
Mhm.
So thank you. So yeah, I took that as a compliment. So even my guy friends really like it and really support it. So
Yeah, I mean, in a way, you could actually almost look at it as even a horror film or a thriller where the villain is mental illness.
yeah.
Where it's kind of like,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and not so much the
yeah.
character or the character playing it, because again, oftentimes that's where it goes. But
yeah.
yeah,
It's just the mental illness itself, not the
yeah,
not the crazy
absolutely.
guy with a hockey mask on or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing against horror movies, by the way, but yeah,
Yes,
but
yes.
they're great. I'm wearing a Scream T-shirt right now, so I don't have anything against them. So
there we go.
yeah,
there we go.
The is there like a specific favorite part that you had about making this film? Like anything that stands out?
Yes, actually, that is such a fun question.
Yeah.
So when I immediately saw the film, like I said, when I saw the film from start to finish that one night, it's kind of bizarre, but a lot of the scenes that people like on the outside looking in, they're like, oh my gosh, how did you go to where's a waterfall in Ohio? Like, where's a waterfall?
Yeah.
And then they're like, how did you go to the mountains? Like, how did you make that happen? Like West Virginia, and like, how did you make, what was the third scene? I don't know. There was an owl. I mean, all these crazy things. Like, how did you make that happen? And so, I will say this, the waterfall and the mountain scene for sure. I feel like there's one more scene, but it's slipping my mind at the moment. But definitely those two scenes are definitely, very memorable in the film. I went to both of those locations with friends just on a random weekday. I took off of work and just with girlfriends, we just took a day trip, I looked up waterfalls in Ohio, and I think this was like 2015, 2016. And I asked one of my girlfriends, like, hey, do you want to go waterfalls? Let's not take TLC's advice.
Yeah. Don't go chasing
I'm like,
waterfalls.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, I hope he gets that reference.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm like, do you want to go, check out some waterfalls? There's actually quite a bit in the Columbus area. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So I remember checking that out, and I think it's Indian River Run Falls, something like that. That's where we ended up shooting. And I remember that place. And then the mountains in West Virginia, that was again another, oh, this is exhausting. We did that day, because it's 6 hours one way. So if you think about it, that's 12 hours plus hiking in itself. Plus I remember getting food there. Like we were there for, it was like a 16-hour day. And I remember it was a random Tuesday. I had to work the next day at the office. Like, looking back, I'm like, I could never do that again in my life. But yeah, when we filmed it for the movie, it was definitely a weekend. It was definitely a weekend shoot, and we went there for the 2 days. But anyways, so how I pulled those off though is because I just went there just for fun, years prior, and at the time, obviously, when I was visiting them, I didn't think, oh, this would be a really cool movie set, or I did not, but apparently they just really stood out in my brain and in my mind, and I'm like, it kind of popped up, and I'm like, yeah, I could totally, if I could pull that off on a random Tuesday afternoon, I could totally pull it off for a movie. So, and thankfully we did.
That's great. I never knew that there were like big waterfalls in Ohio at all, so I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Yeah.
I know. I've been to like some smaller ones, like in the Cleveland area. I actually have a weird story where this girl I was dating in college, first date, like we went out of town, we went to Cleveland, and we were in this park after dark where we were looking at the waterfalls and stuff, and we kissed for the first time. And then we go out of the park, and there's 2 cop cars waiting for us. And Yeah, that kiss ended up costing me $150.
Oh my god. Well, I guess when
Yeah.
what is it? The kiss, every kiss, or
Yeah.
I don't know, there's no price, or I
Yeah.
don't know. My goodness.
Yeah.
Aw.
So yeah,
What a story, though.
I know. I'm actually working it into a screenplay, so it's
Oh my gosh,
so it
please
works.
do.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I had a question too about like, is there any kind of movie that you saw before this that kind of inspired your style or idea or direction for this?
Definitely inspiration. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not a big fan of chick flicks at all. But there are definitely two, if not three, films I was inspired by. The two romance movies that I love, that again, this is rare, but they're also older. I think one was 2000. I could be wrong on that, but it was A Walk to Remember.
Yeah.
And then with Mandy Moore and Shane West. And then 2004, Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams, The Notebook.
Yeah.
And then I think this was 2008, Hillary Finch, P.S. I Love You.
Okay.
So those three films were kind of the inspiration behind this. Looking back, I'm like, I don't think The Notebook really inspired this at all. Actually, I just really like The Notebook.
Yeah.
But looking back, I'm like, it's really kind of a mixture between, again, inspiration, with A Walk to Remember, and then P.S. I Love You. Essentially, but instead of like the notes, it's more of a journal aspect. But again, instead of the death of the leukemia. For A Walk to Remember, it was mental illness being the illness, and actually, in A Walk to Remember, I'm kind of thinking, Shane West takes Mandy Moore's character on like a whole bunch of fun, I guess, budget or not budget, bucket items,
like
bucket list,
sort of thing,
of things that she wants to do, So essentially, I'm like, that's kind of what inspired this, because I'm just like, I definitely don't want it to be just a down, super serious film. I'm like, I definitely want to entertain people as well. I definitely want to have an uplifting, just the romance and, the budding romance of the film. So essentially, Jake takes Allie on just a whole bunch of adventures. Well, as I mentioned, waterfall, mountain, holding an owl, I think a music festival, and so just a lot of fun stuff that I really just wanted to highlight the new beginnings of a relationship.
How were you able to film the Bonnaroo festival thing? I was just curious.
That was the one. That was the one scene that, oh my gosh. Originally we actually did go to a music festival.
Yeah.
And it was in, I think, Tiffin, Ohio.
Okay.
But we got some B-roll there, and then we actually did the speaking scenes there too. But the lighting wasn't that good on us.
Yeah.
So we actually, even though we kept with the B-roll, my colorist, Larry Williams, he said, you really should reshoot this. Like, in order to like really have the full effect and have the high quality, you really need to reshoot this and control the lighting. So I'm like, okay. So additionally too, actually I failed to mention, we also went to what is it called? GAF, German American Festival.
Oh, okay.
And just a local festival. We got some B-roll there, just like, different music and whatnot. And in a crowd. So essentially we got some footage there. But when it came to the actual speaking scenes, because again, we had to do it in a very controlled environment.
Yeah.
So we were looking at so many options, just locally. Like there's a church off local or nearby that has a big hill in the back. Like we were definitely thinking of places like, where can we shoot with the controlled lighting, but also, that is remote, that wouldn't draw a lot of attention. It also has a hill. So essentially, so ridiculous. My sound engineer is like, my parents' backyard has kind of a hill living in Sylvania. So we filmed till like 4 a.m. and it was actually, I think that was the last scene for Joe, and I think it was like end of September, and it was like 40-50 degrees. So in between takes we were like wiping our noses because it was so cold, and we were trying to hide our breath. but yeah, and if you're wondering about the lights too, so we had battery powered lights and with controlled lighting.
Yeah.
But with the lights in the back, those were just Christmas lights. Like it's so funny. We just filmed the speaking lines in someone's backyard at 3 a.m.
It's great.
Yeah. Movie magic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was wondering, I figured there was some kind of movie magic employed in there, but it worked out really well, I thought. And
thank you. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, as you know, I explained it all, but that's 3 different locations for what, a 60-second, scene. So it's crazy. Yeah.
It's amazing when you can shoot like, I've done things in the past where I shoot one side of a conversation in like a different state than the other side of the conversation. So it's just,
Oh my word. And it makes for the coolest stories in the end. Yeah.
It's like one in Michigan, one in Ohio, and you're just like, okay,
that's
amazing. Works. Yeah. Nobody knows.
Right.
So finally, no, not finally, but one question before my final question. You change your hair color, your character changes her hair color in the movie. Did you ever have to go back to the other color, or did you make sure you shot things in order?
Yeah, so again, I don't even know where that came from, but I think that was kind of like inspired by like just actually my own story of like I've always wanted to. I was bleach blonde up until like age 5 or 6, and then my hair just gradually got getting darker, and I don't know, I just really wanted to try the blonde out again in my, I guess, adult life, so I did. And before going back to my natural color, which is brunette, I'm just like, I want to utilize this and write into a movie for fun.
Yeah.
So essentially, I was blonde throughout the entire movie. What made me have the brunette hair was honestly like Halloween spray. Like I was almost every week I was ordering spray off of Amazon or something. Just the brunette
that's crazy.
Spray. Yeah. So it was just the really heavy duty hairspray, and I was debating about getting a wig, but I'm like, I feel like people would be able to tell.
Yeah, wigs are really hard to pull off, I think.
Yeah. So I really debated, but man, once I got the last brunette scene out of the way, like even Joe looked at me. He's like, "Aren't you happy that you don't have to spray your hair anymore?" And I'm like, "You have no idea. You have no idea." So it was a pain for sure.
And I have one final fun question that I like to ask people when they're on the show sometimes. What is your guilty pleasure movie? Like something that you are almost afraid to admit you like?
Well,
yeah.
What is? I can definitely answer that in a TV show.
No, that's fine. TV shows work too. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, actually 2 shows come to mind. So I don't know why, but I was really drawn to the show Younger. I mean, honestly, it was probably Hilary Duff and just my teenage, Lizzie McGuire days. But that's not typically the type of shows that I gravitate to. So I really loved the show Younger. I mean, I binged like the first 3 seasons in like a day. I mean, it was fantastic. As far as other TV show too, again, not a big reality TV show person. I don't know. I just have never really gotten into them. But one show that this is definitely my guilty pleasure. Selling Sunset. It's a show on Netflix about realtors.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I visited LA actually a couple times in the last couple years, and I hope to make it out there this year, but we'll see. But to visit a friend. But I remember it was like May of 2019, I think I was in LA, and that was like I think the month that Selling Sunset came out, and I think I watched it before I went there. I'm like, I need to go, look at The Office. So I remember walking to the Selling Sunset office. Well, what is it? Oppenheim Group. I remember walking there. I think I don't know. I don't think it was from my Airbnb. I was somewhere in the area. It was definitely on Sunset Boulevard. But yeah, and I got there like 10 minutes after they closed. And I'm like,
geez.
Oh, crap. That would have been so cool. Because I guess they do walk out and say hi. Like if they see people, they'll walk out and say
cool.
hi.
Yeah.
So not that I'm super fangirly or anything.
Yeah.
But it still would have been fun to see. So I snapped a picture of the office and just kind of kept walking. But that's definitely my guilty pleasure, reality TV show. Because again, I don't watch many, but there's something about that show, and the drama really does suck me in. And I'm not even that type of person. So, but yeah,
I understand. My guilty pleasure is Catfish for some reason. I just can't get enough of that show for some reason.
That's so funny. I love it.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Anyways, do you have anything else you would like to tell our audience or anything before I let you go?
Yeah, actually. So, for those who are interested in checking out A Story Worth Living, it is available all to see. I mean, it did the festival circuit, was delayed a couple years due to COVID.
Yeah.
But it world debuted in Hollywood. It's played in 6 countries, I think 11 major US cities. It's been around the world, and now it's available for most people to see. I say most because I have a couple followers in Canada, and they're like, we can't watch your film, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. So yeah, so hopefully it'll be available in Canada soon, but definitely in the US for those who are interested. It is on Amazon Prime. I do know it will be, I haven't announced this yet, but it's okay. It will be on Tubi, and it will also be on Google Play. I think Fandango, Vudu as well. But I don't know when. So I keep checking, and I don't know when those are dropping, but hopefully soon. But yeah, for right now, it is on the big one, which is Amazon Prime. So be sure to check that out.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was going to end up on Tubi, because I know one of the production companies I saw behind your film did A Bachelor's Valentine. Which yeah, my friend Brian's in that movie, and I was just
awesome.
Yeah, so he's a star of it.
Yeah, I definitely know. I worked with the producer for sure.
Yeah,
on another Columbus film.
Yeah, so I was wondering. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, thank you for your time, and I'll be sure to share all of your links in the show notes if anybody's interested in checking the movie out, which I highly recommend. And have a good day.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Michael.
No problem. Okay, that was our interview there with Vanessa Leonard. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you want to hear more interviews like that, let us know. If you know anybody that you want to have on the show, let us know. That rhymes.
Do it. Yeah, it did rhyme.
Yes.
Do it. Tell us every person you want to be interviewed.
Yes.
Every person in the world.
Well, it'd be good if you have any kind of way of getting a hold of them and you're friends with them.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah, because you can't be like, hey, we want you to interview Tom Cruise, and I'd be like, yeah, that'd be great.
And you got no contact info.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. We're not going to go around looking for the contact info for Tom Cruise. We don't have the labor power to do that, so.
Yeah. Xenu never gave me the power to. Oh, anyway, so
Oh no.
Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that interview there with Vanessa. Yeah, I would recommend highly, like I said before, to check out A Story Worth Living. Her movie, it's really, I think, like an important film. It's really kind of cool to see indie films that aren't horror. Not that they all are, but a lot of them are. Which makes sense. I love horror, but they're easy to make too.
So, yeah, they're cheaper to make. So
yeah, and and if you find that interesting, I've got some other people coming up too with that are indie filmmakers, which I really am interested in talking to, that I've reached out to, and some have said yes to be on the show. So, and if you are an indie filmmaker and you're listening to this, or an actor or musician or anybody, and you want to be on the show, let us know. That'd be great.
That would be super cool.
Yes. Any final thoughts here before we wrap this up here, Sesame?
You almost said my Sesame.
My Sesame.
Yeah. My Sesame. No, I've got nothing. Nothing else.
Nope, nothing else. All right. Well, important thing here. Be good to each other. Look out for your friends. Take care of yourself,
Yeah.
There's help out there if you need any kind of help with anything mentally, There's lots of avenues out there. The best step you can take is just reaching out to somebody.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's all for today, I think. Make sure you check out anything you want from us at all2real2.com. That's the best place to find us. And be good to each other. Remember that I love you. And Sesame loves you.
Yep.
And until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.